So it's Sunday morning and time for another edition of Wardy's Waffle. Behind me you can see I've got a field of wheat here that's looking really fit. We've got some wet bare patches in it that were waterlogged all over the winter. They're okay now, but quite a lot of this area, this part of the field, was waterlogged, and this is one of the fields that we did a lot of mapping in and made the fields, all these areas, no spray zones, so we didn't put any inputs on them where there wasn't a crop. I think we're going to get into all the winter wheats in the next week. Tomorrow, Sunday, by the time you see this, soon after, we're going to be starting the spring barleys up on the light land, which will be good. Just before I get into the contents of this update, there's two or three things I just wanted to mention. First of all, oilseed rape storage. Some of you have questioned why we're doing storage when I mentioned last year that we weren't going to be doing it anymore. And yes, I did say that because the returns aren't great. We get £32,000 from storing around 2,800 tonnes of oilseed rape, but it costs us £16,000 to get that. There's a lot of costs with storage. We have to cool the crop, we have to condition it, that requires electricity. We have Tom in the weighbridge all the time, and we have Reuben pushing up, so you've got all the forklift depreciation and all the forklift hours and running costs and labour of Tom and Reuben to take into account. So with 50% of our income from storing the crop goes into costs, and that is a really poor return. But the commercial storage market is dead at the moment, and so I thought rather than get nothing, we would at least get something for the crop. So that is why, or for the buildings rather, that's why we are doing rape storage this year when I said we wouldn't. The next point is baling straw. I mentioned at the end of the video in midweek that we were thinking about baling straw, and some of you said, oh, I said I would never bale straw because of bringing blackgrass in. Yes, again, I did say that, and I'm having to backtrack and eat my words a bit because we have got so much of the farm not growing a crop this year. We need to maximise income, so we will be baling every acre we've got to try and recoup some of that lost earnings from having no crop on it. So I am going back on my word there, but we need to do this now. The problem with bringing blackgrass in balers, it is still there, but hopefully with the local contractor we're going to use, the baler will be blown down at night before it comes here with a compressor, not with a leaf blower, because I don't think a leaf blower can get into the areas of the baler that a bigger compressor can. But I still think we are going to be missing some areas in the baler, so I'll know where the fields have been baled before it comes here, and I know in the area most of where the blackgrass fields are, so hopefully we'll be able to eliminate it like that. But yes, it is a risk when we've spent all these years trying to deal with blackgrass and reducing our blackgrass levels that we have done to the point where we don't combine any blackgrass now. It is a bit of a concern, but I'm willing to take the gamble because we need to maximise returns because we have got so many acres with no crops in. So that is why I'm going back on my word there. Also, going into this update, one of our trailers, one of our Bailey 16-ton grain trailers, I think it's about 10 years old now. The tyres on it were worn out, so through Tanvics tyres and Pete, who runs the commercial side at Tanvics, we've got some 4 Alliance tyres put on the trailer. So we go through that and look at the loading of that and just look at these tyres because it's really important. These tyres are the first very flexible, or the first VF tyres for a trailed implement. I know they've had VF tyres for tractors, but these Alliance tyres are the very first ones on an implement on a trailer. So we take a bit of a look at that. And when you start to look at the cost of replacing all these, it does obviously mount up. But at the same time, we have to look at road safety as well. I'm also going into one or two of the stewardship areas, and I think we've made a mistake there, which I'll touch on when we go into the stewardship areas as well. But on the volume of weeds that's coming in the winter bird food plots, which I'm not happy about. And there's one or two other snippets around the farm and getting ready for harvest, which we're going to be starting, as I say, we'll be starting the day you see this video. So that's it for this intro. If you've any questions, please come back with them as you always do, which is great. I always enjoy answering the questions and the criticism as well, which is great. We always learn off everything and when we make mistakes, and I'm first to hold my hand up if we do that. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoy this update, and if you make it to the end, we'll see you then. Oh yes, one more thing before we go on. Also in this update, Tom will be finishing off soloing the land that we haven't got any crops on, and some of that's going into into SFI, and some of it's going to be going into our winter wheat. Actually, while we're at this stage, I'll just say as well, we are losing one of our contract farms to a long-term, well, to a 3-year SFI agreement. So we've got a contract farm, one of our main ones, that's 420 acres thereabouts. It is going, the farmer has decided to put it into SFI, the whole farm. So we are losing all that, which is really disappointing. And it's right on our boundary, and that's some of the land that you've seen Tom will be soloing in this update. But the whole farm's going, and so we are going to have to look at the whole farm economics and adjustments of that. But if anybody's got any work in the area, and we will travel a little bit for it, but I don't believe in travelling huge distances. So sort of within 20-mile radius, 25-mile radius, or slightly more if there's a decent block. If anybody's got any work that they need doing, whether it's mould draining or soloing or anything, or any opportunity for some contracting, then please let us know. But yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment to lose this farm, and I think this is happening all over the country. And I'm going to have a conversation with somebody I know in the RPA, that's the Rural Payments Agency, about area, because I did hear about a month ago there was just under a million hectares that had been put into SFI and into fallow and legume mixes. Now, whether that's long-term whole farms or whether that's in the 3-year or just rotational, I'm not quite sure, but I will look into that. But yeah, a bit of a disappointment for us to lose this farm, and a local right on our doorstep as well. But that's what happens with life, and obviously the farmer has a choice to make, and that's his decision. But we are going into SFI here, but only on odd fields on a rotational basis. Anyway, that's it from me rambling on. Let's crack on with this update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the end. So this is one of the fields that's had all the water stood, and you can see here big areas here, no crop on. We have round-upped it off probably a month ago, and this is one of the no spray areas that we had when we mapped it with the gator, and we haven't put any spray or any chemicals or fertiliser on here. You can just see here, big area here that was wet, laid wet all over the winter and the spring. You can see how the ground's cracked. That's what it does, it goes like crazy paving when it's had a lot of water on it. But big area here, no crop on. So when we talk about yields and how many tonnes we've got off fields, I am going to be including the whole field size, including these areas, because I think it's only right, because we did plant these areas. This is part of the field. You'll see here by sprayer ruts how wet this was. But yeah, so we will be including all these areas when I update on yields and how the crops are doing. So just talking about this farm that we've lost to SFI, we are cultivating it all now, that's what Tom's doing, and we are pressing it, and we are going to be planting the crops. So we're going to be doing all the contracting work on it as such, and the maintenance. But obviously there won't be the income from that there is in growing a crop, because we had a sort of divisible surplus arrangement, so that the more profit the farm made, the more share we got from it. We had a percentage share in the divisible surplus. That's how a lot of these contract farming arrangements work, and that's where we make our sort of profit, is in the divisible surplus, not in the initial charge. Because with contract farming, we had where we charged 3 times a year a sort of a set fee to just cover our costs, and then we made the profit was on the divisible surplus that we got when the farmer worked out that at the end of the year. So when I say at the end of the year, before harvest, in sort of June, July time. So that's how a lot of the contract farming arrangements work. Just come into BBC Radio Lincolnshire. It's 2:30 a.m. for Farm 24. Studio is empty. Rhonda's here as well. We're just going in to see Sean Dunderdale.
I said to him, you sound like normally it like this is to get on the plane. Confidence, Sean.
Now, Rodney, you're a county advisor for the National Farmers Union. Andrew, you're a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Both are heavily involved in farming. And I mean, where to begin with you two? I mean, Andrew, you're perhaps are known around the country
Best, which is produce good quality food raised to, prepared and raised to high standards.
It's a question I put to my guest earlier, Meryl Ward. I said, why do you do it? Why do you do farming?
Setback, there are always going to be setbacks. The weather's particularly difficult, and there are always challenges in any business, But you know, our farmers day after day rise to those challenges and they do the best they can to overcome them, and we just need to carry on supporting and celebrating like you are today. So thank you very much, Sean. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in. And
So Tom is filling up the RX and just clicked off 837 litres, and that is in a day's work. So started yesterday at 7:30, finished 11 o'clock at night. What's that, Tom?
21 litres of AdBlue.
So 21 litres of AdBlue and 837 litres of fuel, and that is £586 worth of fuel for that time period. But it's a legacy of the winter and the summer and the rain all last year, because the heavy land, this soil is working terribly at the minute, using a lot of fuel and very hard, and a lot of wearing parts as well. So Tom's heading off now. Had a great day yesterday, just trying to get all these fields done before we combine, and these are the fields that we didn't have a crop on this last year, which is about a third of the farm. Our local tyre company, Tanvics tyres from Newark, have come with 4 Alliance trailer tyres for our baling grain trailers. They're getting a very thin and worn wire showing, so we've got some new ones. We're about to go on the train, one of the trailers. So Callum's already got one on the side around here. Doesn't take long to change them when they're on the trailer. So what Callum's doing there is just put some air into there, and that forces the tyre out onto the rim. There you go. Just like that. This is one of the ones we've taken off, and you can see the wire showing through. Starting to show through quite a lot through here. With the A17, a busy road, we don't want this blowing. And then these are the ones we're replacing with some Alliance. And these are the VF, the variable flex. 560, 60, 22.5 size. That's the same size as the ones that's coming off. I've got Gordon Hamilton here from Alliance Tyres. We've just put these 4 tyres on the trailer. Gordon, if you just explain for start, please, the VariFlex technology that's on these tyres.
Yeah, sure. A 560/60/22.5 is the #1 radial flotation tyre in the UK market, but loads are becoming heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
And the pressure on the ground is becoming even more of a concern. So what Alliance did, they've created the world's first VF radial flotation tyre. This will allow you to lower the tyre pressure whilst maintaining the same load as a standard construction tyre.
So when you say flotation, obviously the tractor tyres have been out for some time with the variable flex technology, haven't they? But this is like for implements and trailers and as say flotation.
That's right. It makes sense that if the tractor's on the field with VF technology, which stands for very high flexion, then the machinery behind it should carry the same concept as well. So other people are coming to market now, but we were first to the table with it.
So what we're doing now?
So what I'll do is I'll I'll show the weight per wheel position, which is an advantage to. Some people do have a weighbridge on site, but that'll just give you the gross weight on that axle or the piece of machinery. What I'll show is a per wheel weight distribution, so that on bigger machinery, especially tankers, I've seen up to half a ton difference from one side to the other.
Really? Gosh.
Yeah, just with any pipe work or attachments that run down the side of the machinery.
Yeah.
So it can have a big bearing on if you just take one position, you could be a mile out on tyre pressure recommendations. So it's additional work, but it's vital to get the machine set up properly.
So are they the same?
No. So you can see from the near side, we've got a weight of 1850 kilos and then nearly 100 kilos lighter just on this side alone.
God, you wouldn't believe that. Going to do the back axle now. So pull it forward so the back wheels go on. That's it. So what we've got here?
So here we've got just over 2 ton on the near side.
On this one?
Sorry, on the offside wheel position.
Yeah.
And then on the near side we've got 1875, so there's 160 kilos.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah.
That's got this exercise done, the weight. Interesting, the differences we've got, and we have actually got a printout here, you can see there, that shows the varying front, offside, rear. Not uncommon then to find the differences?
Not at all. I mean, commonly you would think in your own mind that everything's just going to be 50-50, but anything from a toolbox, a fuel tank, any other attachments that you might have running down a piece of machinery or your tractor, it can have a knock-on effect on how you determine a pressure recommendation for setting the machine up properly.
Great. Well, what we'll do, when we get some combining done, we'll get you to come back in 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll get a load up and put it on the pads again.
Sounds
and
good.
have a look. Great. And Callum, thank you very much. Done a good job here fitting these tyres. You can see there, they look really good under there. So that's great. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Okay.
Beauty of having high doors. At the back of all the trailers there's always a lot of rape sticks to ledges and things underneath, so we blow it down all around the light clusters as well, and the suspension arms underneath and in the wheels, so we blow it down with a leaf blower. Some local farmers bring tractors and trailers in rather than use lorries to deliver the rape. We're just looking at working land. Reuben's on the Cultipress. I'm just taking over from him. You can see he's just there. But the land, I've never known it work so badly. It is really, really hard. All the rain and the weight of the water over the winters really put the land down solid. And where we are here is one of our most difficult fields. But it's in a continuous wheat situation, and it hasn't had a crop on it this year, but a cover crop. But we'll knock it down and then wait for a rain and get it drilled end of September, early October. That's what it's like when it hasn't been pressed. Doesn't look too bad, but there are some big lumps in it. And that's what it's like when it's been done. This time, bring the lumps up to the top. There's little areas here that still not brilliant. Yeah, it's really rough this, but it's level, but it'll stand some rain. But some of the clods are still really soft. If you look at that, that's still not dried out, still wet. See how the press has got into it. But it'll be fine. I think when you look at how some of this high clay content soil's working, it just shows the effects that rain has on it, and we really are having a reset this time. So we're using a fair bit of diesel, and we're going to be burning quite a bit of wearing quite a bit of steel in the wearing parts. But we need to do it. We need to get these fields reset, because there's been water stood around them all the time. They're consolidated, they're compacted. So in all this land where we are now that hasn't been cropped, we mould it first of all, and then mould quite a lot of connecting moulds into the dike. So we mould it for a start, and then we rolled it to flatten the cover crop, so we rolled it at right angles, then soloed it with the sole and a press on the back, and then we have loosened the headlands with the subsoil and gone a bit deeper than the solo, and then we're cultipressing the whole lot to get it all level and all ready to stand the rain and ready to drill with winter wheat. So we've had a complete reset on it, and then the aim is to maximise the returns next year, hopefully, and get a good wheat off it. But not going to be cheap establishment, but I think the land will benefit from all the extra work that we're doing now. But that's actually, if you like, we've saved work and saved costs over the last 3 or 4 years, because a lot of these fields we've been doing less and less to. So when you spread the extra costs we've had this year back 2 or 3 years, then it'll even itself out. Brought Tom some fuel. He's just parked up on the headland here. The outlet on this Bowser is on the right hand side, as is Tom's filler on the left, so it just works out right. We've got a Honda engine on here, the gauge there as well. Got a filter on the back, just to strain out any rubbish. So that's 747 litres. It's 7:30 Friday night, 7:30 this morning. You saw us fill up another 700 odd litres. So that's what it uses. Nice lot of dust, which is incredible, because in January and February this field had 6 inches of water just in this area here where it's low. So you can just see there how lovely the soil is there. Compared to here, where you can see it's a lot rougher, a lot more clay on this side of the field. And then this part of the field is different altogether. It's like Skegness Beach. Just wanted to show you what a good job these tines are doing in the front of this press. You can see there, they're just levelling it out before the rings get to it. And they just line the lumps up, bring them out onto the top. And then the rings there are breaking them and levelling it out. Here's the seagulls that my grandson Oscar was talking about last week. I'm just walking into one of the areas that we've got down as a winter bird food plot in the environmental stewardship scheme, and this is where I think we've made a mistake actually because of the volume of weeds here. So I'll just show you what I mean at what we've done and what we maybe should have done differently. This is the plot. It's about 20 metres wide. It's on the edge of an 8-metre flower margin next to the hedge there, and then there's a field on the left there that we didn't crop this year because it was too wet, and it's one of the fields we had the cover crop in, and we've mould and soloed it. And Tom has actually, here's the moulding lines, Tom's gone through the corner of the plots here into the dike, because this corner of this plot always laid really wet, so hopefully that will have made a difference. But what we've done here, there's a huge number of weeds growing between the rows. We put it in with the Simba Elita, which puts the rows about 45 centimetres wide, so 18 inches wide. You can see just down that wheeling there how wide the rows are. But the volume of weeds between the rows is huge here. You can see rows there, but also weeds. And we soloed this as early as we could in May when we could get on it and make a job. We then left it to wet and dry in this land weathered. We then cultipressed it and got it ready, and then we planted it with the Elita only about probably 4 or 5 days, or maybe less than that, after we'd done the Cultipress. And that was the mistake, because we didn't allow all these weeds to germinate. And when you can just see here some huge number of these growing here, there are good bits of what we want and bits of the crop we've planted, but huge number of weeds. And what we should have done is let the weeds grow after we cultipressed it, probably 10 days or fortnight, then Rounduped it off, sprayed it with Roundup, and then planted it, and we wouldn't have had all these weeds between the row. That's the problem we've got, is we didn't let the weeds germinate. This is the field next door. Just look at it, these lumps. Look how that's like a brick.